Youth drug abuse crisis on the rise as experts warn of long-term consequences and call for preventative action. Cases of online predators targeting teens alarmingly increases as parents are told to be more vigilant with their kids' screen time. Youth engagement in politics and is a new generation playing a huge role in shaping democracy? And human rights are under siege as global concerns rise over government crackdowns. Greetings and welcome to the NFS, where we bring you the latest in matters public affairs and current issues. I will be with you for the next 25 minutes, so do talk to us on our social media platforms, that is at NFS on Facebook and Instagram, and nfs.news on X, or at Fainbonyo on all social media platforms using the hashtag #TheFrontier. I am your host Fainbonyo, and this is what we have for you. Remember, you can join the conversation on our social media handles, Facebook, the NFS Newsroom, X at the NFS, and using the hashtag #TheFrontier. Our top story of the day is a drug abuse dilemma as the issue of youth drug abuse continues to escalate, with alarming statistics shedding light on the severity of the crisis. According to recent studies, nearly 1 in 4 university and high school students have used illicit drugs, and a staggering 60% of teens report feeling pressure to try drugs. Experts warn that the long-term consequences of substance abuse can lead to mental health disorders. Our reporter Philip Sinyembo with more.
Thank you, Fain. The issue of youth drug abuse is one that continues to escalate, and recent findings have painted a disturbing picture of the crisis we're facing today. Studies show that nearly 1 in 4 university and high school students have used illicit drugs. These numbers are staggering, but even more concerning is the fact that 60% of teens report feeling pressure from their peers to try drugs. Experts warn that the long-term consequences of substance abuse are severe: mental health disorders, addiction, and in extreme cases, early mortality. These are the harsh realities that many young people face when they fall into the grip of drugs.
And now our correspondent Feliv Sinyembo joins us live. Feliv, what are the most abused drugs in Kenya?
Thank you, Fain. In Kenya, the most abused drugs include alcohol, bang, mirror, cocaine, and prescription drugs like painkillers and tranquilizers.
And are there specific age groups that are mostly affected by the issue?
Thank you, Fain. In Kenya, the most abused drugs include alcohol, bang, mirror, cocaine, and prescription drugs like painkillers and tranquilizers.
How accessible are these drugs and how are they sourced?
These substances are easily accessible in both urban and rural areas. Alcohol is sold openly in many outlets, while bang and mirror are commonly grown locally. Cocaine and other hard drugs are often smuggled into the country. Reporting live for The Frontier, I am Philip Sinyembo.
Thank you so much, Philip, for your time. Have an amazing day. And now to get expert analysis for this issue, we are joined by Dr. Susan Njuguna, who is going to talk more on this pressing issue. Dr. Njuguna, welcome. What are the primary factors contributing to the rise in drug and substance abuse amongst youth today?
Thank you, Fain, for your question. It's true there's a rise in the abuse, let me call it, the use and abuse of drugs among the youth, and a lot of it is attributed to factors in the lifestyle change. And by lifestyle change, I'm talking about a student who is coming from a high school setting where there were controls, and now they find themselves, if they were not using drugs, that is, they find themselves in a situation where they have so much time. There is peer influence. There is, wanting to be in the in-group, and just culture change. And those are just some of the factors. There is also the economic aspect where a student, a young person finds themselves, they are in coming from a very humble background, and they need this money. And somebody is providing the money at a little fee, and it looks like little effort. Just transport this goods from point A to point B, and we will get you the money that is enough for your rent. And it looks like it is very little effort. But eventually, that particular person who becomes a courier for that reason would eventually be inducted into the use and abuse of the drugs. There is also just the aspect of development. We talk about the developmental stage where the young person is learning to make decisions. In the learning to make decisions, sometimes they make mistakes. Some of the mistakes land them in the use and abuse of drugs. Some are able to get out, some are not. Again, there is a genetic. We come from families where sometimes drug abuse has been there. So there is a tendency towards use and abuse of drugs. Or you come from, let's say, a line where there is alcoholism, for example, or in communities where drugs are not seen like it's a problem. So there are so very many factors. And so this young person is actually under pressure from very many things, and as to how successfully they navigate that period will be so much dependent on the support systems that are available.
How do mental health issues play a role in the development of addiction, especially in younger populations?
Again, good question. We're seeing a lot of, I think we are more knowledgeable about mental health issues now. And so I can't, an example would be, I come from someone who is coming from a family where they have mental health issues. And so without the drugs, the mental health issue may not be seen to be, we may not know that there's a mental health issue. And just take it, for example, you come from a home where there is psychosis. Now, in the presence or when this particular person starts taking drugs, doing drugs of abuse, and it could, by the way, be a prescription medication. They were in pain, they were given a strong, opioid, for example, and because they have that tendency to break down, they end up being psychotic. So part of the reason why I think we are seeing a lot of young people in the mental health units is because of the abuse of drugs when they are already vulnerable. Undiagnosed mental health issues predispose one to who takes drugs to, a worse situation in as far as that is concerned.
And what are some of the most effective prevention programs or strategies currently being implemented, and how do they measure success?
Again, thank you, Faye. The strategies that are in place sometimes have not included the young people. The strategies that will be effective must place the young person at the table, not the person who has never experienced it. And by experienced it, I'm referring to someone who's just read about it, or someone who's just a professional and knows how to handle patients or people who are doing drugs. So the strategy for me that will work is where you get the young people who understand the language of the young people, telling us what are the issues and how can we support them, so that the rest of us actually support the young people to get solutions for their issues, because they understand where they are at. They understand the many different forms. You asked me today, I don't know all the forms in which the drugs are being supplied. But the young people know. They know the traffic, they know the routes. So the strategy for me that would be successful, and I'm not saying what is there is not successful, but the strategy that would be successful, we must have young people sitting at the table to develop strategies that can work for them. We have the rehab centers. which unfortunately are very expensive. So very few young people can access. Supposing you have a young person who's coming from a vulnerable community, they may not be able to access it. And so again, at the end of the day, whether we have rehabs that are community based, that are accessible, that the support is coming from those communities, and strategies that remove the stigma from the young people, because supposing we see you go to a rehab, will we receive you back? Supposing we see you go to a mental health unit, will we receive you back as a community? So the strategy must be community wide, but it must have the young people sitting at the table.
Thank you so much, Dr. Susan, for those great insights. I have learned a lot, and I believe the viewers at home are also learning a lot. Thank you.
You're most welcome, and all the best.
This is The Frontier on NFS, and remember, we want to hear your thoughts on these matters, so interact with us on @Fainbonya on all social media platforms using the hashtag #TheFrontier. Switching gears to another pressing issue on whether our teens and youths are safe while using social media online. Teens are more connected than ever, but unfortunately, so are online predators. Recent studies show that nearly 1 in 3 teens have reported being approached by strangers online, and of those, a disturbing 15% have engaged in conversations or shared personal information. According to a 2023 report by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, there has been a 40% increase in cases of online exploitation of minors in the last 2 years. Experts say this alarming trend highlights the need for stronger vigilance from both parents and teens. Our correspondent Isaac Miner with more.
A 2023 report by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children revealed a 40% increase in cases of online exploitation of minors over the past 2 years. These cases include grooming, inappropriate image sharing, cyberstalking, and coercion, often beginning with innocent chats that quickly spiral into dangerous territory. Cybersecurity expert Marcia Chiang explains that many predators pose as friendly peers or mentors. The anonymity of the internet has made it easier for offenders to hide behind screens, but the impact on the victims is real and even long-lasting, ranging from emotional trauma to blackmail and, in extreme cases, physical endangerment. Parents and guardians are being urged to engage more actively in their children's digital lives. Experts recommend setting screen time rules, having open conversations about online safety, and using parental control tools. But perhaps most important is building trust so that teens feel safe to speak up when something doesn't feel right. For teens, the message is very clear. Think before you click. Not everyone is who they actually say they are. And while the internet offers connection, fun, and freedom, it should never come at the cost of your safety. Because in the digital age, staying safe online isn't just about technology. It's about awareness, communication, and courage. Miner Isaac, reporting for The Frontier, NFS.
And now Isaac Miner is joining us live to talk more on this pressing issue. Isaac, from your report we gather that this is an issue that seems to be in existence for long and continues to be so.
Thank you, friend. In today's interconnected world, young people spend a large portion of their time online, whether on social media, gaming platforms, or chat forums. But this digital freedom also comes with growing risks. Experts raise red flags over the increasing cases of online exploitation with predators using sophisticated techniques to lure unsuspecting teens. Some pose as fellow teenagers, others exploit gaps in parental monitoring or use private messaging to manipulate their targets. Meanwhile, schools and local organizations are stepping up efforts introducing digital literacy programs to teach children how to spot red flags, protect their identities online. But with technology evolving rapidly, for now, the best defense remains awareness, supervision, and responsible internet use.
What are some of the common tactics these online predators use to gain the trust of teenagers?
Most predators start by pretending to be peers, often using fake profiles with teenage photos. They engage in friendly conversation, offer compliments, or show interest in the teen's hobbies. Once trust is built, they may ask for private photos, personal details, or even try to arrange a physical meet.
Did you come across any signs that parents and guardians can look out for if their children are being targeted online?
Yes, definitely. Sudden changes in behavior, secrecy about online activities, receiving gifts from strangers, or having multiple social media accounts are some red flags. If a child becomes withdrawn or anxious, it might be worth checking their online.
And what role can the government or schools play in addressing this issue more effectively?
The government can enforce stricter cyber laws and invest in tracking and punishing offenders. Schools, on the other hand, can integrate online safety in their curriculum and create safe spaces where students can report suspicious online activity without fear of judgment.
Thank you so much, Isaac Miner, for that wonderful report. We are grateful. Joining me live to give us expert analysis is Dr. Sheila Wachira, a clinical psychologist. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what factors do you think are contributing to the alarming rise in cyberbullying among teenagers?
We're seeing so much many teenagers being affected in the issues to do with cyberbullying, because you see with the cyberbullying, of course, this is when you have people using technology to actually intentionally hurt another person. And for that reason, we find that some people have no knowledge in terms of when it comes to what is cyberbullying, and that is very important for us to know, for us as parents to be able to understand and help our teenagers. Sorry, I keep on saying student because I'm a lecturer. And what happens is that now the lack of knowledge, it is one of the factors that is contributing with the issues to do with the cyberbullying. I've seen another thing that we can also mention, the issue to do with the sexting. It is becoming very hard, and I don't know whether the parents are aware about that, because parents tend to have they have given the freedom to the teenagers. Teenagers have been given a lot of freedom, and sometimes they don't understand how to go about those issues of sexting, because that is where we are also finding people getting an opportunity to do that. We're also having, nowadays we have the issue of data protection. People are like, when you go to the online, you find these youth are just acknowledging anyone. They get a friend request, they accept anyone. Whoever sent them a friend request, they just accept them. Now, you don't know the kind of people that you are accepting. And these guys, sometimes people impersonate. And when that happens, then you will find they have a way of now, when you talk about the texting, and of course, sending some days of the photos and text messages are sending to them. Now, the moment they decided to expose you, to bring shame, to bring all this to you, then that is what will happen. And you find that that is something that the psychoeducation is very key when it comes to doing that. So again, also too much freedom in terms of using the gadget. We do have issues of the phones, people are using them that, and cyberbullying happening in the cyberspace. So definitely we need to be careful whatever we are doing and whatever we are posting there, because again, if you do not protect your own data, then definitely when it is in the public domain, it will be exposed, and of course it comes in with its own psychological effects.
Given the prevalence of cyberbullying, should social media take more responsibility for preventing harassment?
I would say it is personal. It should be more of personal responsibility, not on the social media. Remember, we are the people who operate. This is a system. The system is operated by me. It is a person like me. And so if I take personal responsibility, then I think it is better that way, because I know what I need to do, what I need to post. Before I post whatever I'm posting, I need to have checked to see, does it really, what side effect, what are the negative impact it has on, in case this information gets out of the, maybe out of place, what will happen out there. So I think it should start with me first, before talking about the social media. It is the responsibility of the person who is, I need to know who am I interacting with, who are my clientele, who do I associate with. If I want to invest on the social capital, now who do I have in mind? Who is in my inner circle? Because the social media, yes, it is remember, social media has its own pros and cons. But I think we are the people who decide what I need to put there, and I have to think twice before I post anything. Because today I'll post, because we use it for many ways, or many you can use it for advertisement, you're making business on that. However, sometimes when you use this for reaching out to our friends, it is a very good network. Okay, but again, it can still work against us if we are not careful and if we are not keen on that. So social media, yes, but I think 80% should be the personal responsibility.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sheila Washira, for that in-depth analysis. Have an amazing day. Is the current generation giving a new shape to democracy? We will find out about this in a special report by Gloria Kamau, right after the short commercial break.
And you know what? I like it.
Welcome back and thank you for tuning in once again. Remember, we value your feedback, so talk to us on social media handles at FainBonyo on all platforms using the hashtag #TheFrontier. Moving on to our other story, where we explore a dynamic shift in the political landscape as young people, particularly Kenyan teenagers, are increasingly stepping up to influence the future of democracy. Across the nation, teens are engaging in politics, from organizing peaceful protests to join youth-led movements that advocate for change. The rise of social media has empowered these young voices, allowing them to address issues such as education, employment, corruption head-on. As the country looks to the future, it's clear that the youth are not just the leaders of tomorrow, they are change makers of today. Our reporter Gloria Kamau with more.
In a rapidly evolving political landscape, one undeniable trend is emerging. Young people, particularly teenagers, are becoming a force to be reckoned within Kenya's political scene. Across the country, teenagers are stepping up in ways previously unheard of, taking bold steps to reshape their future and assert their presence in the democratic process. Whether it's organizing peaceful protests, launching youth-led advocacy movements, or utilizing the power of social media, Kenyan teenagers are making their voices heard on issues that are directly affecting their lives, education, employment, corruption, and much more.
The role of Kenyan youth has really evolved as compared to the last decade. Majorly through now their voices can be heard.
One of the most visible ways in which youths are influencing the political narrative is through organizing protests. Across the country, teenage-led protests have emerged as powerful symbols of resistance. These peaceful demonstrations, often organized through social media channels, have tackled key issues such as the lack of employment opportunities for young people, the rising cost of education, and the need for political accountability.
The role of Kenyan youth has really evolved as compared to the last decade. Majorly through now their voices can be heard.
The future of Kenya's democracy seems to be in safe hands, with young people taking an active role in shaping the nation's political direction. The rising engagement of teenagers in politics signals a new era of accountability, transparency, and youthful energy in the country's democratic processes. If this momentum continues, we may very well see a new generation of political leaders who are deeply attuned to the concerns of the youth, ready to lead Kenya into a brighter and more inclusive future. For The Frontier, I'm Gloria Kamau.
Now joining us live to talk more on this issue is Busia Senator Okia Omtata. Welcome, Honorable. Now, good sir, what is your understanding of democracy, particularly in the Kenyan context?
Well, I don't know whether there's any context for democracy, which is Kenyan or whatever. There's just the universal context of democracy that basically says that it's ruled by the people for the people. Of the people, by the people, for the people. That's how Roosevelt, I think, explained it. And not Roosevelt, but George Washington. So for me, I think that the important thing in Kenya is not even the democracy, it's actually the republic. The republic is a rule of law. So it's a country governed by law, and Kenya should be governed by law, and that's what we chose for ourselves. So we have to work hard and make sure we are governed by law. And as for the Gen Z protest, there's a mistake being made by you fellows. The youth in this country have always resisted and have always advocated for change. When you talk of the likes of the Mau Mau, the Bakatilili Wamenza, the Harry Tukus, all these were young people. They all fought for this country. I've always stood up, my young people. Changing over to Section 2A, fighting for the Constitution, it was driven by young people. So young people have, generation after generation, have been on the forefront of demanding change, and there's nothing different with the Gen Z. The millennials fought, the Gen X fought, everybody has fought for change. So it's not just it's on the shoulders of the Gen Z, and there's nothing new under the sun. Just a struggle that you have to get proper governance.
And how significant is the role of technology and social media in mobilizing Kenya's youth or accountability and transparency?
Yeah, I had to organize things. Yeah. But revolutions have happened before, very fast. If you look at, I don't know if you've heard of the Zanzibar Revolution by Field Marshal Okello. It happened like moto wa karatasi, so it went very fast. So social media as a tool for mobilization is awesome. It helps. But it also demobilizes. Some people think that when they go and run to social media, they've changed anything. And so it has also been a demobilizing tool to the extent that it can be misunderstood. But I think generally as a tool, it is not what is available to Gen Z. Even today, to get a date, you do it on social media, you have to use these tools. Nowadays, I don't know the magic we used to play to get somebody to meet another person, we just write a letter and do things. So it's there. But the important thing is that the knowledge is also there. The people are knowledgeable, people know what they need to do. People push forward and achieve what is supposed to be achieved.
What specific political solutions are the Youth for Change movement proposing to address Kenya's political challenge?
I think they said what they are demanding good governance. And they were very clear about that. They are not interested in power. They give only those who are in power to govern according to the law. It's very clear. It's not in hidden.
And how do young activists in Kenya navigate the potential risks of protesting or speaking out against political leadership, especially in a country with a history of political instability?
People should have the courage of their convictions. If you think something is right, have the courage of your convictions. Otherwise, shut up and ship out. It's a war. It's a war. You either choose to be a soldier or you choose to be a victim. So if you choose to be a victim, you'll be taken prisoner. Choose to be a soldier, you'll die in your trenches. You'll stand up and fight. So the choice is very clear. So nobody's going to be, it's a question of getting what you want. If you want good governance, and those who don't want good governance, you have to fight them and defeat them. There are no two ways about it.
Thank you so much, sir. Have an amazing day. Now, on our last developing story of the day, the issue of human rights being under siege, building on from the previous story. We would love to know what you think, so chime in the conversation through our social media handles at Feinbonyo on all platforms using the hashtag #TheFrontier. Recent reports indicate a concerning global decline in human rights protections. According to the 2024 Global Rights Project report, over 60% of countries received failing grades, highlighting a systematic breakdown in safeguarding basic freedoms worldwide. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has warned of a dangerously escalating global situation marked by widespread conflicts and violations of international law. He condemned the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, criticized Israel for the starvation crisis there, and mentioned other regions experiencing severe human rights abuses, including Ukraine, Sudan, Haiti, and Myanmar. Our reporter Temi Kayamba with more.
In a sobering reflection of the state of human rights globally, recent reports have painted a grim picture of the ongoing decline in basic freedoms, with a worrying number of countries failing to uphold international human rights standards. The 2024 Global Rights Project report has highlighted that more than 60% of nations have received failing grades, signaling a systemic breakdown in the protection of fundamental rights worldwide. This development comes at a time when the international community is grappling with escalating conflicts. Beyond Gaza, other regions are also facing significant human rights violations. In Ukraine, the ongoing conflict has left civilians vulnerable to attacks, displacement, and a breakdown of basic social services. Similarly, in Sudan, Haiti, and Myanmar, human rights abuses continue to rise, fueled by conflict, political instability, and widespread violence. These crises not only highlight the failure of governments to protect their citizens, but also expose the international community's struggles to effectively respond to these pressing challenges. For those concerned about the state of global human rights, it is more important than ever to stay informed, engage in advocacy, and call for meaningful action to protect those who are at risk. Reporting live from the frontier, I am Tami Kayamba.
In studio, I am joined by Mr. John Midegu, a senior lecturer of sociology in Daystar University, who is going to help us digress this issue even more. Good sir, in your view, what are the key indicators that show human rights are currently under siege, both locally and globally?
Yeah, locally we are seeing in the political dispensation, we are seeing disappearances, and after that we see people, some people coming out dead. We see people disappear completely for many days, we don't know where they are. And the limitation of freedom of expression, even on the social media, we see people having a problem with that. And so that is what I can say is one of the indicators locally of limitation of human rights. Internationally, we're seeing wars in countries, particularly countries which are endowed with minerals. We are seeing foreign attacks by powerful countries into those countries, and that limits the human rights of the citizens in those countries.
And how does the erosion of human rights intersect with political or economic instability in affected regions?
Yeah, human rights in the political scenario limits the freedom of expression, it limits the maturity of democracies, and we are seeing that the country is not growing even in the building of the local resources. So that limits the economic and social growth of countries.
What role do social media and digital platforms play in either protecting or threatening human rights today?
Yes, both ways. In protecting, because it gives awareness of violations of human rights. Social media has a way of getting to people very fast. But also social media can become a place of bullying, where people justify wrong behavior and create a clout around it, and that limits the fight against the protection of human rights.
And given the growing concerns, what steps should government, institutions, and individuals take to safeguard human rights moving forward?
Yeah, moving forward, one is just public awareness. That is the most effective. You deal with the people from the grassroots, create education and awareness. But on the other extreme, they can create legislation so that it becomes known consequences for violation of human rights.
Thank you so much, Mr. Midegu, for your time. Have a splendid day.
Thank you, Faith.
My skin is my identity and deserves care made specially for me. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care with 5 oils and 5 vitamins helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks for your shade of beautiful.
In the face of all these adversities, we are the ones to make the world a better place where we thrive. So, take it upon yourself to become a better person and be your brother's keeper and not your brother's route to problems. Thank you for staying till the end for the insightful questions you have asked. Till the next time, this has been The Frontier and I have been your host, Fain Bonyo. Have an amazing one.